Well, good afternoon and welcome to the January 11th, 2023 City of Mesa Planning and Zoning Board hearing today. We will begin with a roll call, make sure we've got a quorum. I am Board Member Crockett. Vice Chair Ayers.
Here.
Board Member Allen is absent. Board Member Sarkisian.
Here.
Board Member Peterson.
Here.
Board Member Pitcher.
Here.
And Board Member Montez.
Here.
All right, we've got our quorum, so we will push ahead. As you heard on the introduction, we have a consent agenda, and so the items that are on the consent agenda will be voted together as a group and not discussed individually. So if there is an item, there are some items that are coming off consent. Those are agenda items 3B, 3D, and 4C. So if you're here for those items, they're off consent, and we'll be discussing those individually. If you would like to speak to any of those items, you'll need to fill out one of these blue speakers slips and get them up to Pamela as quickly as you can. We do have some comments on, let's see, on item 4A. We have a comment card by Margaret Mausch Mayer, and she is in favor and does not wish to speak and of that project. And then agenda item 3A is the Haas Crossing item. We've got Lucas Van Sistine that says he is in favor of the item and does not wish to speak. So we wanted to include those in the record. I don't see anything. Pamela, do we have any other blue cards that have come in on any of the other items on consent?
No additional blue cards.
Okay, great. Then read those comments in. So Board Member Montez has graciously volunteered or been volunteered to read our consent agenda.
I don't know if we could say volunteer,
today. So
but.
with that, I'll turn it over to her to go through our consent agenda.
Okay, items on the consent agenda. Approval of minutes from previous meetings. 2A, minutes from the December 14, 2022 study session and regular meeting. Item 3A, Zone 22 dash, oh, did I say ZON? No, say ZON. Oh, sorry. ZON 22-010112, Haas Crossing. Oh, did I say them wrong? I'm sorry. 01012, Haas Crossing Mixed Use Phase 1, District 6, within the 7900 to 8400 blocks of Elliott Road, South Side, and within the 3600 through 3700 blocks of South 79th Street, East Side, and within the 3800 through 3700 blocks of South Haas Road, West Side, located west of Haas Road and east of Sussman Road on the south side of Elliott Road. Site plan review and special use permit. This request will allow for a multiple residence development. Staff recommendations, approval with conditions.
Board Member Montez, on
Yes.
this item, can you reread in the address range for Haas Road? It sounds like you read that incorrectly.
Did I read it incorrectly?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, so 3600 through 3700 blocks of 79th Street, East Side, within the 3600 through 3700 blocks of South Haas Road, West Side?
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, item 3C, ZON 22-01061, Gravity Energy Drinks, District 1, within the 100 block of West McKellips Road, North Side, and within the 2,000 blocks of North Center Street, West Side, located north of McKellips Road and west of Center Street. Site plan review. This request will allow for a restaurant with drive-through. Site recommendations, approval with conditions. And item 4A, ZON 22-00916, Boomerang Headquarters, District 2, within the 2500 to 2600 blocks of East Southern Avenue, North Side, located west of Lindsay Road on the north side of Southern Avenue, rezone from single residence 43, RS 43 to office commercial with a bonus intensity zone overlay, OC-BIZ, and site review. This request will allow for an office development. Staff recommendations, approval with conditions. Item 4B, ZON 22-00921, The Block, District 6, within the 7100 to 7600 blocks of East Elliott Road, South Side, and within the 3600 to 4200 blocks of South Sossaman Road, West Side. Located west of Sossaman Road on the south side of Elliott Road, rezone from agriculture to light industrial with a planned area development overlay, and site plan review. This request will allow for the development of an industrial business park. Site recommendations continue to the February 9th, 2023 February 8th, sorry, adding dates, 2023 Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Item 4D, ZON 22-01010, Legacy Gateway Hotels, District 6, within the 9600 to 9900 blocks of East Williamsfield Road, North Side, located north of Williamsfield and west of the State Route 24 Gateway Freeway. Council use permit, site plan review, and special use permit. This request will allow for the development of multiple hotels and a retail pad. Staff recommendations, approval with conditions. Item 5A, the block of Elliott, District 6, within the 7100 to 7600 blocks of Elliott Road, and within the 3600 to 4200 blocks of South Sossaman Road, located west of Sossaman Road on the south side of Elliott Road. Preliminary plat, this request will allow for the development of an industrial business park. Staff recommendations continue to the February 8th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Item 5B, Legacy Gateway Hotels, District 6, within the 9600 to 9900 blocks of West Williamsfield Road, located north of Williamsfield and west of the State Route 24 Gateway Freeway. Preliminary plat, this request will allow for the developmental of multiple hotels and a retail pad. Staff recommendation, approval with conditions.
Thank you, Board Member Montez.
You're welcome.
Can I have someone move our consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, let's go ahead and cast our vote.
Chair, could you just clarify it's moved to approve the consent agenda?
Yes.
So moved to approve the consent agenda.
And
Second.
I have the same- And Board Member Sarkisian, how are you voting on this?
Yes, aye.
And Vice Chair Ayers?
Aye.
All right, by your vote of 6 ayes with Board Member Allen, you have passed the consent agenda. I'll now turn the time over to Assistant Director Nettles for staff presentations on the remaining items on the agenda.
All right, Chair, board members, so the first item off of consent is item 3B, ZON 22-01020, and Sean will be making that presentation.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the board. This is case ZON 22-01020. The request before you is site plan review of an initial site plan to allow for an industrial development associated with Costco Wholesale. The location of the site is generally located north of Elliott Road, east of Ellsworth Road. It has frontage on three different streets, 94th Place, Peterson Avenue, and 96th Street, as shown on the map. The character area designation for the site is employment, so this character area is intended for job-generating uses, and as such, LI is listed as a primary zoning district in that character area, and the use, which is distribution and storage, is also listed as a primary use for that character area. The zoning currently is light industrial LI with a PAD overlay. There's two PAD overlays. One's tied to the Elliott Road Tech Corridor, and the other's tied to a development master plan that was approved in the mid-2000s for a large master planned industrial development. The proposed use is allowed by right in the underlying zoning district, which is LI. This is a site photo looking south from Peterson Avenue. And here's an image of the site plan. So the applicant's proposing a 72,000 square foot building. There's loading bays and trailer parking on the south side, the south elevation. There's access, primary access from 96th Street, and then secondary access for employees and visitors from Peterson Avenue. The site will be screened by an 8-foot screen wall and has articulation on all street-facing sides. 84 parking spaces are provided and complies with the parking requirements set forth in the code. The landscape plan was reviewed last night at the design review work session. The board had some comments, and we'll work with the landscape architect to make those changes, but overall, the landscape plan complies with the landscape standards in Chapter 33. And the elevations as well were reviewed and complied mostly with our design guidelines. And we'll work with the architect per the board's comments, the design review board's comments. And here's a rendering of the corner entrance. So property owners were notified within 1,000 feet in HOAs and registered neighborhoods. The applicant sent an initial letter on November 8th, 2022. One response was received from a property owner to the south who had concerns and questions about the proposed building design. The architect worked with that property owner, and substantial changes to the elevations were made between first and second submittal, and those concerns have been alleviated. So staff finds that the request complies with the 2040 Mesa General Plan, the Gateway Strategic Development Plan, and then the review criteria in Chapter 69 for site plan review. And our recommendation is approval with conditions as outlined in the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Are there questions on this from board members for Sean? I do have some questions, but I want to see if anyone else has any. So, Sean, what is the purpose of the Elliott Road Tech overlay, or that an entity can opt into?
Chair, I think it boils down to shortening the entitlement process for developers. There's an offset, there's a trade-off to that. There's standards that need to be met if you decide to opt into that technology corridor overlay. But overall, I think it's to speed up the entitlement process.
Okay. And does it limit in any way the uses that are allowed on property?
Chair, yes, a handful of uses, and those uses are outlined in the ordinance for the Elliott Road Tech Corridor. This use would not be allowed if the property owner opted in.
Okay, and the property owner has not opted in on this one, is that correct?
Correct, Chair.
Okay. Yeah. And so the concern I have on this is, Mesa has invested many millions of dollars in developing that Elliott Road Tech Corridor. And, while I love Costco and I love, having them in Mesa, I'm not loving the idea of having them use this space on what is the highly desirable Elliott Road Tech Corridor. So we have a site plan review before us, and in the site plan review criteria, is there any basis to look at, the Elliott Road Tech Corridor? Is there any basis to support opposing the site plan based on the concerns that I have?
Chair, good question. There's a lot of criteria to look at in that section of the code. In looking at that during our review, we did not find a criteria, a basis to recommend denial within that criteria.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else have any questions on this one besides me? Okay. Thank you. Let me invite the applicant up now. Ms. McNear, would you please come forward and state your name and address for the record, and then, if you'd like to make a presentation, this is the time to do it.
Thank you, Chair Crockett, board members. My name is Mary Grace McNear. I'm with the law firm Buse Gilbert McGroder, and I represent Costco in this application for site plan review. With me here today are Christine Lasley. She's the Director of Real Estate Development for Costco, and Seth Katz. He's also with Costco in-house. And then I also have our architect, our outside architect, Brett Ryan, with Ware Malcolm, and someone from his office as well. My planner from Buse Gilbert, Marcella, is also here today. So this has been a pretty big effort on our part to meet all of staff's requirements and requests, and to check in on building a really, really nice development and MDO warehouse in Mesa. This will be the first ground-up MDO warehouse in Arizona for Costco, so it's a big deal. They're excited to join the community in this way, and they made a really nice, designed a really nice building here to go at this corner. I want to address the site plan review criteria first off, and I appreciate staff's work on that, and this is something we talked to Sean about and the principal planner, Evan Ballmer, about quite a lot in our initial reviews, and we pointed out that we have not opted in to the Elliott Road Technology Corridor overlay, PAD overlay, which does allow you to streamline the process. However, I wanted to point out that 1169.5A says that one of the criteria is that the project is consistent with and conforms to the adopted general plan and any applicable sub-area or neighborhood plans. And then it says right there in the code, except no analysis of the use if it is permitted in the zoning district on the property. So we're permitted under LI. And so the Elliott Road Technology Corridor plan would fall under this general plan and neighborhood and sub-area plans that you're supposed to analyze. However, in this case, because the use is allowed by the underlying zoning and we haven't opted into that overlay, it says, except no analysis of the use if it is permitted in the zoning district on the property. So that is the most close criterion to be considered with regard to the use on the property. So I just wanted to go over that before we start in. And I'm going to skip a lot of slides in my presentation because much of it was about the design for DRB last night. So we'll mostly talk about the site plan, and I'm open to any questions, and also my client will be happy to answer any questions.
And can I ask you quickly, what does MDO stand for?
It stands for Merchandise Market Delivery Operation.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, so yeah, we'll get to that as we go through. So we're not going to cover every one of those, so we'll just go on. This is a single merchandise transfer building. Basically what happens here, it's going to employ about 75 employees full-time, and basically what happens here is that when you order something online from Costco and you live in the general Phoenix area, your product, it will be a large or bulky product like a refrigerator. I'll just use that as an example. So I order a refrigerator from my home I live in Scottsdale, and I order it from Costco, or I go into the Costco near me and they order it online. Then that refrigerator goes to a direct distribution center, and then it comes out to this merchandise delivery operation in Mesa. And they will unbox it, check it, set it up for an appointment with the person, with me, who ordered it, and then they'll queue it for delivery. And then they have They have people come on, carriers come on and deliver those products out to basically the Metro Phoenix area. And they will take away your old refrigerator and bring you the new one. So that's what this is designed to do. It also has corporate offices so that we can have a office presence in the building. Right now, it's zoned LI, as I mentioned, and there's nothing on it. It's vacant. I don't know what that binging is. That's
Yeah,
distracting.
sorry about that. Is
No,
that
no.
coming from our system?
No problem, no problem.
And while you're looking, just a quick question. How many MDOs, did you say this is the first MDO that,
Oh, it's my computer. Yeah, it's the first one in Arizona, from the ground up. Now, they have converted other existing facilities to MDOs, I believe, here, but this will be the first one that we're designing from the ground up to work here in Arizona.
and will it serve the entire valley or the East Valley? What's the
The entire
delivery
valley,
area?
the entire valley. So our proposal is consistent with all of the requirements. Sorry.
It'll serve about half of Phoenix.
Oh, apologies. About half of Phoenix, I'm told.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Thank you for that
We want to be
clarification.
really precise, so we don't want to lead you wrong. So the first Mesa Commerce Center are the design guidelines that we're following, and of course, the design guidelines in the LI district. And so we meet all of those requirements. Sean really put us through our paces, so we made a lot of changes to our site plan, and so let's get to those. So there's the site plan. You've got, as Sean mentioned, two primary access is from the, primary access is from the 96th Street or 94th Street, and then at the north side of the building onto Peterson, we have a secondary access. The building is going to be 75,000 square feet. Maximum occupancy is 151 occupants. It's 34 feet in height at 40 feet at the parapet. All these things meet the zoning code requirements. Setbacks exceed the minimums required. As Sean told you, we had one access is from 96th Street and secondary access on the north. The truck docks, you have access from the side of the site, as you can see, the orientation of the building and the screening provide physical and visual separation between the distribution operations and the rest of the building. Pedestrians are connected via a walkway from the site to Peterson there above. So now I'm going to skip some of the design slides because we have a lot of them. But we chose really nice materials. These went through several iterations to get that nice looking rendering that you see there. We had some details, and there's the landscaping plan. We meet every requirement of the zoning code, and the design standards for landscaping are met. We are landscaping the entire site, even though we're only building the 76,000 square foot warehouse at the beginning of the process. And the design summary is that we use 3 colors throughout. We have variation in the architectural details of materials and finishing, and we varied the roof lines so that it looks good. As Sean mentioned to you, the neighbor to the south asked us about putting some better landscaping in and doing some improvements on the facade of the south side. And that was at a previous iteration. So we made those changes. That person is satisfied. Incidentally, he sent me an email last night and said, great presentation at the DR board. Thank you for making the changes that we requested. So that's really in closing. We're seeking design approval. We sought design approval last night, but now we're seeking the site plan review, site plan review approval. Is there anything else we can tell you about Costco's operations or the setup of this that would help you overcome your objection? I understand your objection. I really do, Chair Cockett. I understand that the Elliott Road Technology Corridor is there, and the city wants that to develop with high-tech uses. This property owner has not opted in, and there's only one property owner in the Elliott Road Technology Corridor that has opted in and has taken advantage of that, those streamlined provisions. And so
Okay.
I'll rest right there. Thank you.
Thank you. The only follow-up question I think I had is you mentioned that there are some offices at this facility. Are these just local offices? Is this any type of corporate office that would be
Yes,
there?
they will employ people who run the operations of the MDO, correct? Okay. So yeah, there will be about, come on, Christine.
Sure.
Sorry. Yes, there will be permanent employees there.
Christine Lasley, Director of Real Estate for Costco. There'll be a regional office representing this area that's going to be housed within this facility. So it's going to be more employees than what's usually in our typical market delivery operation MDO.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, any other questions or on this one? Thank you. Now, we don't have any speaker slips on this. Do we need to open this for public comment and then close it for public comment? Okay, then at this time, I'll open the hearing for any comment from the public. I don't believe we have any speaker slips on this, so I'll go ahead and then close public comment. And now I'll entertain any discussion on this one from board members if we have any discussion or I guess ultimately a motion on this one. Board Member Pitcher.
I also concur with Chairman Crockett. You know, we love Costco. Go to Costco. Spend lots of money at Costco. The concern I have is the use in this area, because it really is an area that the city has tried to set aside for high wage technology related jobs. Unfortunately, like in law school, they tell us that there's what's called a grumbling approval. And I'm afraid that that's where we are, because they have this by right. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments on this one? All right. I will entertain motions at this point.
Move to approve ZON 22-01020 Costco MDO Building, District 6, within the 9400 to 9600 blocks of East Peterson Avenue, within the 3400 block of South 94th Place, and within the 3400 block of South 96th Street, located north of Elliott Road and east of Ellsworth Road. Site plan review. This request will allow for an industrial development. Motion for approval with conditions.
Okay. I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Board Member Ayers. Let's go ahead and vote.
Jessica's an aye.
Board Member Sarkisian votes aye. Thank you. Board Member Ayers.
Aye.
All right. Okay, so with your vote of 5 ayes, 1 no, and Board Member Allen absent, you have passed this item.
Okay, Chair, our next item off of consent is item 3D, which is 0122-01064, and Chloe will be making that presentation.
Good afternoon, Board and Chair. This is ZON 22-01064. This is a site plan review and special use permit request to allow a restaurant with a drive-through. The site is located south of McKellips Road and east of Lindsay Road. You can see the designation of the site on this map. There is large lot parcels to the south and vacant parcels directly surrounding, and then a school to the southwest. The zoning district that this project is located in is neighborhood commercial, which does require a special use permit for drive-throughs. It is located within the neighborhood character area for the general plan, which has a goal to provide safe places for people to live and enjoy their surrounding community. Here is a site photo looking south from McKellips Road at the vacant parcel. This parcel does include a 756 square foot building that is a drive-through only facility. There are drive-throughs on both sides of the building to the east and the west. And the site does provide 14 parking spaces, which per code is over the 25% of the required parking ratio amount and will require an administrative use permit after this approval. This is the landscape plan that was discussed last night at the Design Review Board meeting with no comments or changes. And here are some of the renderings from the elevations. Staff will be working with the applicant to provide and resolve the comments from that last night's meeting with the Design Review Board. Per section 11-70-5E for special use permit required findings. Number 1, approval of the proposed project will advance the goals and objectives of and is consistent with the policies of the general plan and any other applicable city plans and/or policies. 2, the location, size, design, and operating characteristics of the proposed project are consistent with the purpose of the district where it is located and conform with the general plan and any other applicable plans and/or policies. 3, the proposed project will not be injurious or detrimental to the adjacent or surrounding properties in the area, the greater neighborhood, or the general welfare of the city. And 4, adequate public services, public facilities, and public infrastructure are available to serve the proposed project. The applicant did notify property owners within 1,000 feet, HOAs, and registered neighborhoods. And they did also hold one neighborhood meeting with one attendee who asked a few questions but was overall excited for the project. Staff has received several phone calls asking about what the project consists of and where the boundary lines of the project are. Furthering that, there were no further questions or concerns once they were given that information. The project does comply with the 2040 Mesa General Plan, the criteria in Chapter 69 for the site plan review, and complies with the review criteria in Chapter 70 of the Mesa Zoning Ordinance for a special use permit. Overall, staff does recommend approval with conditions, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there questions for Chloe on this one from board members? Not seeing anything. Okay, thank you. We'll invite the applicant up now to speak to this item. Would you please state your name and business address for the record?
Sure. My name is Jerry Plank. I am with Archicon. I am the architect of record of this job. I'm at 5055 East Washington Street in Phoenix. And thank you very much for talking about this. So we have worked obviously very hard. There's some empty land immediately to the east of us on this property. We worked, and it's my understanding we got pulled off because you're concerned about traffic and traffic congestion and those kind of issues. If you look at the site plan, and can we get the site plan back up there? How do I do that? Oop. Which way do I go back? Sorry, hit the wrong thing.
That was the site plan.
Okay. Well, it doesn't show the one I have. What we did is we worked with traffic. There's some existing driveways across the way. And those two existing driveways, where we put our driveway is in between those two driveways. If we slide our driveway to the east or to the west, we start to conflict with the driveways across the street as they come out and make their turn going the opposite direction. So ours is slid over, and then the traffic engineers also ask us to put this cross-access agreement you see that leads into the other lot. We don't know what's going there yet, but we believe it's going to be developed into another type of restaurant use or pad use of this kind of thing. With that access allows them to use our entrance and not have another entrance that conflicts with the one across the street on theirs. So the only entrance to the one to the east of us is ours. And then we did a couple things to do traffic control. We are a drive-through only. There's no walk up to ours, and there's no squawk boxes, which everybody loves, to these locations. We have 480, well, let me get this right, 486 feet of drive-through space 23 cars. So we looked at moving that to the back of the space so cars could stack up, control themselves on the lot, which a lot of other of these kind of uses have a lot of spillage, as we call it, where they're spilling out in the parking lot, they're spilling out into the road because they didn't do adequate drive-throughs. We worked very hard to get these guys a substantial drive-through different than everything else. We meet the 50-foot criteria throat that the city wants, and if you look at, that's from the right-of-way to our throat, and then out to the street curb is another 15 feet or more between that. So our throat's about 65 feet deep to come in. And if you look at where our drive-through is, if you notice it's in the next aisle over, not directly aligned with ours. So we can stack cars out if we get super busy, right? We can stack cars down that lane without conflicting with anybody coming in or anybody getting through the cross access of that. So that was thought about as part of this design. So I think I'll close it there and answer any questions you have. I tried to address what I think I understood the problem was. So.
Yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Questions for Mr. Plank on this one? Board Member Pitcher.
Thank you. Hey, the concern I see is when people come out of the drive-through. So
Yes.
the double barrel drive-through. I'm pointing at my screen.
I know exactly what you're talking about, where they merge together and they come out that hole
so you've
right
got
there.
that choke point there, and then they come out, and do we have a choke point then going out that way?
Well, I think we get to meter how they come in and out because we don't meter how they come in, but we get to meter how they come out based on.
How do you do that?
Well, it's how we deliver drinks, right? We have a certain way that we deliver drinks. So how we deliver the drinks doesn't mean I come and get 4 cars at once, right? I give this car. And the way we work is we don't have drive-through windows. If you've looked at our elevations, they're actually sliding glass doors. They actually carry the product to the car and hand it to them. And the way we work, since we don't have squawk boxes, there's additional people in shade structures along the path around the back that hold iPads, very similar to Chick-fil-A, that take orders, take the payments to do that. I don't think traffic has looked at this at length. We've worked with them very hard on this site plan. Traffic didn't believe it was that big of a problem with how they came out and made that move. I think you're asking if they come out and make that left-hand move back to the road. It's never come up until now, to be frank.
And then can I follow up with a question on that?
Sure.
When we were in our study session downstairs, staff indicated that they asked you to flip the layout of the property. Wouldn't that tend to address the concern that Board Member Pitcher has raised? And can you explain why you weren't happy or willing to do that?
Well, some of it had to do with the property next door. The property next door and working with traffic, they weren't going to get an entrance. The property to the east can't get an entrance onto the main street. And in doing that, if we flipped our building over there, we created a much more difficult problem, I think, traffic-wise, at that connection point where traffic wanted internally the connection into the adjoining property. It created a much bigger problem. So we pushed our building the farthest to the west to get it out of that what we considered that choke point to make it to the site as that site develops to the east of us.
And do you know how that property is going to develop to the east
I
of you?
don't at this point.
Okay.
But if you look down to the east of there's very similar uses down the way. Sonic, I think, is down there. Another Filiberto's is down there. I think it's going to be very similar to something like that. And they're just going to be lined up there. But when working with traffic, we're controlling how much is getting out on the street and where. And then how we conflict with already established drive aisles across the street.
Are there other questions for the applicant on this? Not seeing any right now. Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me go ahead and open our public hearing and see if there's any public comment on this. Pamela, I don't think we have any blue cards on this item, do we? Okay, then I will close the public comment, the public hearing. And have some discussion amongst the board here on this one. What,
Chair and board members, I have the traffic engineer that is able to join the Zoom call if you had questions. I just need to provide him the link, so if you had any questions for him, he's available.
Board Member Pitcher, would that be helpful?
Sorry. That'd be great.
Yeah, let's do that.
Pamela, would you mind sending me the link real quick?
Someone needs to play the Jeopardy music while we're waiting here.
Sorry, we're passing things around here.
Looks like we have someone that's joined us here.
So we are waiting on Peter Vargas. I'm not sure if he's
It looks
all the
like
way.
he's on.
Looks like he's connected now. I
Peter,
sent him.
can you hear me? This is Board Member Crockett.
Peter, can you hear us?
Looks like you're on mute, Peter.
He said his sound isn't working. He's working on it right now.
Okay.
Chair,
Didn't
board
mean
members,
to-
if you
didn't
wanted
mean
to
to
have
be
any
difficult,
discussion, I
Whitmer.
can let you know when he's ready.
I'm sorry, say that again?
If you wanted to have any discussion, I could let you know when he's ready.
Okay. An e-session? Talking about, what kind of?
No, I said if you had any other discussion that
Oh,
you wanted
any
to
other
have in the
discussion.
meantime, I can
Like,
let you know when
I
he's
didn't know we
ready.
could go into executive session. Okay. Okay, are there any other questions on this while we're waiting?
Are there snacks?
Yeah, we do have some chocolate up here on the dais. I might just quickly ask Mr. Plank, what type of a business is this? Is this a new business to
Yes,
Mesa?
it's a new concept. They have a series of stores in Seattle, a whole bunch of them up there. I don't know exactly how many stores? 32 right now. 32. And they identified this market. There's 4 of them coming into Mesa.
Okay.
You approved one on consent tonight.
So the one just up, you're kind of hitting McKellips Road pretty hard on this, aren't you?
You approved one on consent, and you pulled us off, pulled the second one off consent, and we have 2 more coming in the next month or 2.
All right.
So they're all over the valley. We're putting, it's a new concept. They do energy drinks and coffee, but they concentrate on energy drinks is what they concentrate on. So it's a little different concept than the coffee concept.
Okay.
They started in Seattle. They're very, very, very successful up there.
All right, thank you for that. Well, we're still waiting for Mr. Vargas. He disappeared off my screen.
He said he was going to try to re-enter in.
Okay.
You got any more? I'll stand up and keep answering questions.
You know, I think primarily it's just the access issue
Right.
and the ability to move around the property. So, and I think you'd said that you didn't have an opportunity to have much of a discussion with traffic engineering on this.
No, we did discuss it with them. And
Okay.
what happened is they really wanted that cross-access agreement because we weren't going to get another one off of McKellips.
Okay.
Especially for the blank parcel, since we don't know who's going there. So we agreed to put the cross-access in to allow them to go over there. So if we had flipped our site, you could see that site to the east of us in traffic then would have been trapped because they weren't going to get an entrance off McKellips.
I see. Okay.
And so we flipped ours over to the west so we could make that connection because traffic really wanted that connection. So that's where it really came from.
So you're talking about the one that's labeled future driveway connection to east?
Correct.
That's where the cross-access easement's going to be?
Correct.
Okay. Peter, I see you connecting. Guess we don't have him yet. Peter, are you there?
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the piece.
We'll give this another minute or two, and if it doesn't work, maybe we'll forge ahead.
Yeah, Chair, board members, you know, I would like to get the Transportation Department to be able to speak to that because it's my understanding that access to that property to the east would not be restricted. I believe that we do have to provide access to that lot, but I think the preference was that they had a shared access to reduce the number of curb cuts.
And I saw a sign that went up on that property within the last few months. I got the sense that that east property was maybe going to be multi-family, but I don't know. Do you know what? Is there anything that's?
It would be one of those flag lots in the back that there's a.
We might have.
This is a developer.
Please come step up and state your name and business address for the record.
Thank you
and give
so
us
much.
some
Thank you
help
so
here.
much, Chair. My name is Travis Carter. I'm with Glenwood. We're the property owner. And so I think I can address and answer some of the questions that you've been having here. So I just wanted to read an email between us and Peter Vargas, who is the traffic engineer. He said, per our discussion, we will plan, this was me responding to him, we had a phone call. It said, per our discussion, we will plan for the future connectivity to the pad to the east of us from our pad and plan on using our access drive shown on submittal for both pads. And so what it was is it was exactly, they didn't want to have a bunch of curb cuts along McKellips. And so what they asked us to do is to have the curb cut that we showed on our plan and then add that internal access drive that would allow the pad to the east of us to be able to get back and forth onto McKellips. And so that was basically through dialogue and discussion with traffic engineering, Peter Vargas. That's per his recommendation is what we ended up with this on this site plan.
Okay. And I saw a sign that went up on the property. It was a black sign with green lettering. I think it said something about insight, or does that ring a bell with you?
It does not. There is a sign on there that does say gravity coming soon.
Or that's it.
So
that's this project.
This is this project, gravity.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is one is identified. The one behind us is still vacant, and the one to the east of us is still vacant, as far as we know.
And you're the owner of all that property?
No, we are just the owner of the one pad.
Just the one pad?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
For
Is there
that clarification.
No, you're more than welcome. Thank you.
And so, Peter, are you there? So, Assistant Director Nettles, what's your pleasure on this?
Is he able to just speakerphone in rather than?
He's responding right now. He was going to try to join the phone, but let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like he's not going to be able to get on. He's having issues, so
Okay.
I apologize for that.
No worries. I guess we'll just push ahead then. Are there any other questions on this item? Okay, any other discussion on it? Doesn't look like it. So I will entertain a motion at this time, if there is one.
Move to approve ZON 22-01064 Gravity Energy Drinks, District 1, within the 2900 block of East McKellips Road, located south of Lindsay Road on the south side of McKellips Road.
Located east of Lindsay.
Sorry, located east of Lindsay Road on the south side of McKellips Road. Site plan review and a special use permit. This request will allow for a restaurant with a drive-through.
I'll second that.
Yeah, movement is for approval with conditions.
I'll second it.
Board Vice Chair Ayers, we have a second from Vice Chair Ayers. So let's go ahead and vote. Board Member Sarkisian.
Mr. Chairman?
Aye.
Oh, she is back. Never mind.
Vote. Board Member Sarkisian.
I'm here.
Aye.
Aye. Yep.
Ayers.
Aye.
All right, by your vote of 5 ayes, 1 no, and 1 absent, you have passed agenda item 3D.
All right, I think you're on 4C, correct? 4C, okay. All right, board members, next item is 4C, which is ZON 22-00977, and Josh will be making that presentation.
Yes, so this is ZON 22-00977, also known as Mountain Bridge Lot 16. This specifically is a rezone request from neighborhood commercial with a planned area development to RS9 BIZ, is to allow for a conceptual site plan to allow for the development of a single residence neighborhood. Provide a little additional context to this site. It was originally annexed in 1986. At that time, it was given a residential zoning, which it held until 2015. At 2015, when the Sevilla neighborhood just to the west of this site was developed as part of a PAD, they did identify this site as a possible neighborhood commercial. At that time, it was purely conceptual. There's no site plan at all as part of that original approval for this parcel. And then throughout the past 7 years, there's not been any, or I guess 8 years in at this point, it's 2023, that there has not been any interest specifically for any kind of commercial uses in this area. Based off of the records I was able to review, this is the only kind of pre-submittal or any kind of formal submittal that we've had on this site. And just to reiterate, this location is on the southwest corner, specifically McKellips Road, as well as Ellsworth Road. It is located within the NCPAD, which was done with that Sevilla portion that did allow for the RS15 PAD just to the west. And because of the lot size specifically, that is why it is proposed for a BIZ, because it does not meet the requirements of a PAD for size of area. Specifically, the general plan in this area is neighborhood. Within that is to provide for a wide variety of housing, which the single residence does provide as part of that. Here specifically is the site view from McKellips Road, as well as Ellsworth Road. The proposal is for 7 lots. With the BIZ, there is a proposed minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet with access off of the private street Jaeger, which is on that southwest corner of this site. Here's the current conceptual site plan. As we mentioned with the additional condition in our study session, staff will work with the applicant to finalize the landscape plan as part of the preliminary plat to make sure there's more of a entryway to the community in that northeast corner, while also making sure there's not any conflicts with the waterline easement and PUFE in that area. They have provided for a total of 9 different elevation types as well as housing types as part of this development, which meets that requirements or the preference of the BIZ to have a higher quality design. And as part of that, there's provided 9 types for 7 lots. Specifically, BIZ, again, is for that reduced lot size. In order to get the 6,000 square feet lot sizes, the minimum width had to be reduced down to 50, but the overall length has been maintained as well. There's additional building setbacks reduction for the front, for specifically front livable areas, as well as side-loaded garages for 10 feet, front garages of 18 feet, street side setback down to 5 feet with a minimum 8 feet landscape track, so that would create about a 13-foot setback. Interior minimum setback of 5 feet with an aggregate of 10 feet, and then an interior rear of 15 feet if there is that maintained 10 landscape foot. That would be 25 feet total, and same with the rear yard for 15 with the minimum with 10 landscape yard behind it for a total of 25. Also, because of the housing product, they have requested a reduction in the front-facing garage shall be recessed from instead of 3 feet to 2 feet, as well as making sure that they have the ability to do 3-car garages, as well as to reduce the minimum depth of that facade in order to meet the requirements because of the way the lots are configured. It's a little tighter than they typically would be. And then specifically for the elevation material calculations, just for the Spanish elevations only, due to the architectural style of that Spanish style, it doesn't really allow for a secondary material over 15%, but as part of those 3 elevations, they have provided at least 3 architectural elements that meet the intent of that section. Overall, at the time of this presentation, staff did not receive any comments. I believe we did have a couple of blue cards tonight, but prior to this meeting, I did not receive any through my process, as well as throughout the citizen participation plan. They had overall, wanted to make sure that it maintained the desert feel as well as that. I just wanted to add a little additional context with the aerial, that there are some existing driveway cuts, but they only allow for right-in, right-out access and are pretty limited on site for where they can do that, which for why most likely there was an interest on that commercial property, not only because of the lack of ingress, egress, but also because of the major wash on that southeast side. In order to make sure we meet setbacks as required for that, it limits the size of this lot specifically in order to develop in a commercial sense. So based off of that, staff finds that the overall site plan complies with the 2040 general plan, as well as the review criteria within Chapter 69 for site plan review, and then Chapter 21 for the BIZ overlay. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Josh. Are there questions on this one? Not seeing any. Okay, we'll invite the applicant up now to speak to us.
And Chair and board members, if I can make a point of clarification that this is just the rezone and that site plan is purely conceptual, the applicant would have to come back at a later date for approval of a preliminary plat.
All right, Josh, help me here. I put the stick in there.
Go to there. Click on. Actually, just click on that one.
Which one?
Yeah. All right. Scroll down. USB drive D. There
we go.
Oh. Yeah, just don't hold. Click. Just.
I was just going to drag it onto the desktop and run it.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry about the technical difficulties there, delay of my limited knowledge here. My name is Sean Lake, 1744 Southwell Vista, Mesa, Arizona, here on behalf of Blandford Homes, the owner of this property. We appreciate the opportunity to be here to discuss the last piece of Mountain Bridge. We've all been pleased, for those of us that have been in Mesa for a long time, with what Mr. Blandford has done with this community. It is a gorgeous community. It is beautiful. We really have enjoyed watching this develop over the years. I really enjoy the homes. Going in the main entrance, it's quite impressive, quite a great project. Well, this is the last piece. This property is located at the intersection of McKellips and Ellsworth. It's a challenging site because of the wash and the limited accessibility. It was originally, as everybody can see, the location of the site. The access to the site is off of McKellips, off of Ellsworth, and there is also a road off of Yeager to the west to this property that comes in from the back. If it were to be developed as commercial, those would be the three access points: Yeager, Ellsworth, and McKellips. We are proposing a residential development that would close off access to McKellips and Ellsworth and just have the access off of Yeager to the west. The current zoning of the property is neighborhood commercial. To put that into perspective, for such a small property, if you read the zoning ordinance, a neighborhood commercial is a use or a zoning district that is appropriate for retail stores, grocery stores, drug stores, restaurants, cafes, gas stations, and convenience stores. That's what the neighborhood commercial definition in the City of Mesa zoning ordinance says. This is a small site, and it's really difficult to get that type of or those type of uses here. If you look at this intersection, for those of us that have been here, you go a mile to the south, you have a Bass's Shopping Center and a Chevron that already provide a lot of those services directly to the south 1 mile on Ellsworth Road. If you go to the west to Power Road, Power and McKellips, you have just about every service you can imagine, which is about 2 miles. A neighborhood commercial is supposed to serve within a half-mile to 2 mile radius. And so if you go to the west 2 miles, you have Target. I think there's a Home Depot, there's a Circle K, there's a lot of different restaurants and places to eat. So a lot of these services are already being provided in this area at commercial intersections. In looking at this site, again, here, listing some of the uses on the PowerPoint, that we don't think those are appropriate uses here. We think, I'm going to tell a story, and I don't do this very often, so I'm doing this 27 years, so I'm going to take a little.
I'm not sure that's actually accurate, that you don't tell stories very often.
I don't use my wife very often in stories, but this is one of those sites where I was with my wife. We went out to dinner, Power and McKellips, and got something to eat, and I said, hey, honey, let me take you over to a site that I'm working on. So we hop in the car and we drive over to this site. The sun was setting, very romantic. Nothing happened, but very romantic. We drive to the site and we sit there and she goes, oh, what are you going to do with this site? I said, well, it's zoned neighborhood commercial. We could do a gas station, a car wash, not a car wash, I don't want to say that in Mesa, a gas station, a retail store, a grocery store. She goes, you wouldn't dare. First time my wife's ever said that to me. You wouldn't dare do that on this site. This is not a commercial location. This really is a residential area. If you sit here at night at sunset, it's dark, it's quiet, there's not a whole lot of traffic, even though it is McKellips and Ellsworth. It is a residential area. There are preserved residential mountains on the northeast corner, and on the southeast corner you have Mountain Bridge on the northwest corner. And this piece to really throw, I think, a commercial there is inappropriate. I think what we are proposing to change this to residential use is the best interest of this area. So we are proposing to rezone this property from neighborhood commercial, which doesn't have a development plan or anything on it. It would just be a site plan approval, to residential RS9 with a BIZ. We chose RS9 BIZ because it fit into the area, but we chose the lot size because that's the lot sizes that are surrounding. Our lot sizes are a minimum of 6,000 on upwards and much bigger, as you can see some of the pie-shaped lots into this project. But directly south of us, you have lots that are 4,500 square feet, 5,800 square feet, 6,100 square feet. To the north of us, you have 6,100 square feet. To the east of us, you've got lots that are 5,800 square feet, 6,100 square feet. So we chose the lot size because we wanted it to fit with what is happening in the area and then use the same homes that are currently being developed into the area. That's why we chose this. So in designing the site, we've designed it to come off of Yeager, which is off of the west side, so that you kind of have this enclave. You finish in through this little gate so that there will be no pass-through traffic of Mountain Bridge out to Ellsworth Road. So those people who live off of Yeager or backing up to Yeager can rest assured that Yeager won't be a cut-through traffic pass from all of Mountain Bridge to Ellsworth Road. It will stop, it will end. And so there won't be any cut-through traffic. So that's a benefit to the community for those who live along Yeager, backing up or entering onto their community onto Yeager. So it will end here, and then this development will access off of Yeager into the community for these small little enclave of 7 lots, again, with the homes that are being built in Mountain Bridge. You saw the architecture and the elevations. Mr. Blandford does an outstanding job doing very nice product, and I think they will be very desirable at this location. We think here's some of the elevations that Josh went through. I had about 10 of them, but I'm only going to show a couple just because we all have seen Blandford developments and we know that quality projects that he does there. So again, with some of the walls and entry gates and so forth, that will all be very, very high end. We did add a condition of approval that we would request that be added, condition number 5, and that is to agree to work with the city staff on the corner landscaping area and how that entrance. We don't have plans to put a monument there, but we do have plans to enhance that area and add more trees and landscaping in that area to soften it up, as was pointed out in the study session, so that it's not just a water line easement, but there are trees that kind of buffer that area. There's existing landscape that exists there today, and that will stay, and there will be more planted as those driveway approaches are removed along Ellsworth and McKillop. So that's kind of a brief overview. We think this is a great use of the land. It fits the character that really is there. This is not, as much as I think a lot of people would like to have a quick trip at this location so that they can stop at it on their way to and from Saguaro Lake, I don't think that's appropriate here. I think that traffic is better to be used Bush Highway or Power Road and not push them over into this Mountain Bridge community. So we think this is a good change to fit the character of the area. So with that, we would request your support. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Are there questions for Mr. Lake on this one? I'm not seeing any, so
thank you.
Stand by. We do have some public comment on this. I will go ahead and open the public hearing. I have 2 blue speakers cards. If there's someone else here to speak to this item, please get one of these filled out quickly and get it up here to Pamela. Let's hear first from Lorraine Nelson. Is Lorraine here? It says, I am opposed to this item. I wish to speak. Is she possibly on the phone? Okay, well, then let me move to the second comment, or the second speaker. Looks like Diane Desmond. She is here. Please come to the podium, state your name and your address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes to tell us what you'd like us to hear.
Thank you for letting me speak, and I want to agree with Mr. Lake about Blandford Homes. I'm an abutter to this property, but I am also a third-time Blandford homeowner. I have owned 3 of his houses, and I really have nothing but good things to say about him, except when it comes to this. I directly abut the back of this project. Yeager Road will be in my backyard. Not only will there be minimal traffic, but there will be lights, there'll be gate noise. And I'm speaking for several of my neighbors right now who are out of town, all of us that abut that wash. When we bought there, we were aware that that property was commercial, so it's not a surprise to us that it would be developed. And we paid anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000 lot premiums to back up to that wash, even knowing that there would be a commercial site. So I guess I would say I'm disappointed that because he couldn't sell that as commercial, that he's now asking to change the rules and develop it residentially. Because the view that I have now will now be houses. And we'll all be living in a construction site for a couple of years while this is going on. So I don't really have any questions. I just wanted to make that comment and have that sort of change of rules be considered. That we bought that property knowing it would be developed commercially, and we all joked it would be a great coffee shop or a little wine bar that we could all walk to, but and we definitely did not want another gas station. So I guess that's my only comment, is just to consider that.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, and it looks like we have another speaker slip. Is it Nathan Wexel?
Wexel.
Did I get that right?
Yep.
Well, good. Welcome. And please state your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Nathan Wexel. Address is 1939 North Atwood. I'm in Mesa, Arizona. I'm at the corner of Jaeger and Estates. So everything's going to come through. We got 23 houses. I know basically everybody in Seville. That's the neighborhood. We get together a lot within our neighborhood. I know most of my neighbors in Seville. I don't know this lady here. She's on the other side, south. The people generally are in favor of this. We don't want more traffic coming through Jaeger. And the way it was initially with the commercial site, that would have been an open to go through it. In fact, while it was open before Mr. Blanford went and finally put a gate across Jaeger, we'd have people that had come through Mountain Bridge with their vehicles and stuff going out through this wash area out into the mountains. And we're in the corner there. There's tons of traffic. The fact of exactly what the representative went and said is exactly what we would like. Exactly. People are excited from the standpoint we won't have a gas station, a grocery store, dry cleaning kennels. If you could control what the commercial would be, but you can't. So I'll take 7 houses over a gas station anytime. The only consideration we've already talked about, and it's not for here, but as far as the construction, is that the construction traffic could come in through the access that's going to be the emergency access, so that the construction traffic doesn't come through. But one way or the other, there's going to be development, but I'd rather see houses in theme with what's there than gas stations and commercial. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and let me just ask one more time. Last call for, let's see, it is Lorraine Nelson. So Ms. Nelson.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, I believe that she wrote comments on that online card, and if she isn't present, if you could just read those into the record.
All right, that's a good idea. We bought our home in Canyon Preserve. We were told the reference property was zoned for commercial development, namely a grocery store. A grocery store is sorely needed. There are many housing developments and custom homes from Thomas to Brown and Signal Butte to 202. Please do not approve this housing subdivision. We are in desperate need of a grocery store. Okay. All right, so that's all the comments I have, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. Invite Mr. Lake back up to respond to anything that you would like to respond to in our public comment.
Sean Lake, let me just address a couple of points. I appreciate all the comments and working with the neighbors. We did have a good outreach and have a neighborhood meeting on site in that area. Beautiful clubhouse facility there at Mountain Bridge. And I would say overwhelmingly, people just would much prefer to see the residential over a commercial development. Now, if they could guarantee it'd be a little boutique, little wine bar, you know, very low scale and you can't really see it, but you can't guarantee that. But they would like to see residential. And some of the reasons that they would prefer to see this is exactly what was pointed out. Stopping Jaeger. If you can see on the map here, Jaeger is currently improved on the south side of Seville, almost to the point where you see the little bubble for the turnaround. That's a paved street, so it's been intended to access, and as was pointed out, until Mr. Blandford went west of there and put up a chain link fence to stop people were cutting through, using that road, cutting across a dirt lot to get out to Ellsworth or to get out to the mountains or ATVs. And so that road was intended for that. And so in working with the neighbors, they don't want Jaeger to go through like you would have with a commercial development. And so with a residential development, you're gonna have significantly less traffic on Jaeger. You're gonna have significantly less traffic or activity on the site than you would have with a commercial development. You're gonna have far less lighting than you would have with a residential development than you would have with a commercial development. And in this area at night, lighting is a big deal. A commercial development versus a residential development, a residential will produce far less lighting. So we think this is more compatible with the area. Less traffic, and I think the view of, if I were to look out my yard, I would much rather look out my yard at a home or a subdivision and a community than I would a retail shopping center or a gas station or a convenience store or something else. I think with the lights would be not only visual, but it would be light pollution as well. So we think this is a good plan. We will work during permitting, as was pointed out, to make sure that the access is off of the arterials and not off of Jaeger. And so we'll work with the city on that as much as we can to make sure that that happens to not interrupt those neighbors that live there. So with that, we'd ask your support. Thank you.
And Mr. Lake, if I could just follow up, I mean, as the owner of the property, Mr. Blandford can control what goes in there. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you talk about a gas station going in there. He could sell it to someone to put a gas station there, but he could also sell it to someone that would create some eateries and some neighborhood services that would support that area. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. They could create some type of unique. It's really tough on a small piece like this. As we know, for a eatery type of a use, they like synergy. They like to be where others are, where the traffic is. Dana Park is a good example. Scottsdale Fashion Square is a good example. Eateries like synergy. They like traffic. They like where people are. And that's not this location. This location is a quiet area. The reason I brought up a gas station here is because it's a straight shot to Saguaro Lake. As you go up over Ellsworth Road, over Usury, up over Backside, and down, you're into Saguaro Lake. So there will be people taking McKellips to do that type of thing. So there might be use for that, but we don't think that's the appropriate use here. We think this is a much quieter, less intense, less intrusive, a more compatible project. Probably, I mean, you guys know the numbers, but I'm assuming he'll probably make significantly less money on this than he would if he just sold it to, say, a gas user. So Mr. Blandford is trying to do the right thing here and sell it to the right person himself to do something quality and nice here.
Yeah. Okay, I appreciate that. And he does build a quality development. I'm very familiar with that development out there. It's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
So, other questions for Mr. Lake? Board Member Pitcher.
Mr. Lake.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what the general size like of a neighborhood grocery store would be from an acreage
Absolutely.
standpoint?
We've done quite a few grocery stores in Mesa. A Walmart neighborhood market will typically go on something about 7 to 8 acres. So if you look at the neighborhood market at Horn and McKellips, that's on about 7 acres. If you look at the Walmart neighborhood market at McKellips and Lindsay, that's on about 12 acres because you have accessory shops that go with it. They like to have accessory shops because that's, you don't make money on the grocery store, you make money on the shops. That's what a grocery store goes on. A larger grocery store, let's see, like the Fry's down at the area that I live in, that's why I'm identifying. The Fry's at McKellips and Stapley, that's probably on about 20 acres. This is 3 to 4.
What's the parking on like a neighborhood, the smaller ones? How many spaces would they?
Walmart likes to be at 5.0 per thousand. And so at a neighborhood market would be about 45,000 square feet. So whatever that math is. So they like a lot of parking.
And you touched on the lighting that you'd have in there. Is there a way to direct that so there's not the lighting that would affect the neighbors that?
Absolutely. With the Desert Upland, as the way Mr. Blandford has developed Mountain Bridge, the lighting would be consistent here as what we've done with the rest, what he's done with the rest of Mountain Bridge to preserve and protect that lighting in this area.
I suggest you talk to the neighbors and make sure that they're pointing the right way and not in their backyards.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? Okay, does someone want to make a motion? What's that? Yeah. So,
I would just remind whoever makes the motion to include the condition of approval that was read into the record at study session.
Can I just make a comment?
please, go ahead, Board Member Sarkisian.
Thanks. So I live in this area, not in the neighborhood, but near the intersection. And I remember when we were rezoning it to commercial, and we were all very excited for that area because we wanted some services. We do have the supermarket down the street, and we were hoping for a little boutique thing there. But as we've been pointed out by Mr. Lake and others, is that the access issues off of Ellsworth is a major issue, and that's going to totally deter that. And as you head down McKellips, it's not going to draw commercial because that easterly direction, you're heading down to like Crisman where it turns into Brown eventually. And it's not serving a population to go further than Ellsworth. And so it's really difficult. And even if we were to get a boutique hotel use there or something, or ice cream or wine shop, the issue becomes is they're going to have to pay for the development of that. And a smaller entity like that is not going to be able to afford it to do that, in my opinion. And so I would love, of course, to have something there with quick access to where I live. I don't believe that is actually going to be a feasible use of that site. And so therefore, I would be fine with going back to the residential it was before.
Okay, thank you. So I think Board Member Pitcher was about to make a motion here.
I was about to. I vote to approve ZON 22-00977, Mountain Bridge Parcel 16, District 5, within the 9,000 to 9,200 blocks of East McKellips roads, and within the 1,800 to 2,000 blocks of North Ellsworth Road, located south of McKellips Road and west of Ellsworth Road, rezoned from neighborhood commercial with a planned area development overlay to single residence 9 with a bonus intensity overlay. This request will allow for the development of a single residence subdivision, including the is it the landscape buffer around the
You can just say the motion is to approve with conditions, including the condition read into the record.
So the staff recommendation is to approve with conditions, including the condition about the additional landscaping on the corners, on the intersection of Ellsworth and McKellips, correct? As read into the record during study session. As read into the record.
Okay. All right, so
She wants you to say those exact
What am I saying?
as read into the record.
As read into the record.
during study session.
I'm sorry? As read into the record for the parties to the study session. There you go.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, Board Member Montez, thank you. Let's go ahead and vote. Board Member Sarkisian, how do you vote?
Aye, yes.
And Board Member Ayers?
Aye.
All right, by your vote of 5 ayes, 1 no, and 1 board member absent, you have passed agenda item 4C. I believe that brings us to the end of the agenda. Assistant Director Nettles, anything else we need to discuss on the agenda today?
No, nothing else on the agenda.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, would you please vote? Board Member Sarkisian?
Aye. Aye.
And
Is anyone ever going to say no?
yeah, I think Board Member Sarkisian voted yes twice. All right, thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Pam?